Hi everybody, Russ of My Hammers 11. Hope you are all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Hit the bell icon so you may have anytime we put new content on. As always, we'd like to thank our lovely channel sponsors, Untuck It. Check them out in the description below. Father's Day coming up soon. Get yourself some new clobber with Untuck It, or maybe even give your dads the gift of freshly shaven testicles. Through Manscaped. Obviously, we're working with Manscaped. You get 20% off and free delivery if you use a promo code WestHam or WestH20 at checkout at manscaped.com. Don't just do the shaving stuff. Do stuff for your nose there. You do your, do it all. Do the t-shirts. Do some nice boxer shorts. Some nice cologne as well. Some nice cologne. Anyway, we'd already done another episode previously of Hammers Under, Hammers Under the Hammer. Oh, that's what it should be called, something under the hammer. Anyway, Hammers in Hot Water, where we took basically the career of the West Ham career of Savio Naresco. So make sure you go back and check that one out. That was really good. So we're moving on. No, we're going backwards. That was sort of midnight. That was the 2009, I think Savio was. We're going back to the mid-90s, and we're going to talk about one man, this man, Marco bloody Boogers. The Boogers man cometh, not the boogie man, the Boogers man. So let me take you guys back, as I like to do. It's a Jack and Norrie story, so strap in, let us know what you think afterwards. So if we start right at the beginning of this Boogers saga, the 1994-95 season had just finished. It was our second full season in the Premier League, and we were sort of stagnating. We'd had 2 full seasons in the Premier League. We'd finished in the lower third of the table, both. It was clear we needed reinforcements, and Harry went on a bit of a spending spree, to be honest. We made 11 signings between May 1995 and January 1996. Peter Shilton came in, Mark Reaper, Bilic, Robbie Slater, Lazaridis, Steve Jones, John Harkes, Danny, Ili Dimitrescu, amongst others. Although we desperately needed that firepower up front to partner fan favourite Tony Cottee. Now, Harry had identified Marcus Stewart as the man who was going to get us these goals, and he was going to be our main striker. He was playing at Bristol Rovers at the time, but unfortunately he came with a 1.5 million price tag, which was far too much. So Harry was basically he had little time and little money to get this forward involved. So he opted to spend 800,000 quid on Sparta Rotterdam's forward, Marco Boogers. He came a bit of pedigree, Marco Boogers did, to be fair. He had netted in total 103 goals in 238 league appearances in the Dutch league. And he was the 3rd best player in the league that season, with 15 goals during that season in the 94-95 season. And that's not bad when you think the likes of Littman, Ronaldo for PSV, and Clivert were also plying their trade in that league, as well as people like the De Boer brothers and people like that. So that wasn't too shabby. So he came a bit of pedigree. Although Rotterdam season was as probably as uneventful as ours was that season, I think they finished 16th, 14th or something like that as well. So almost identical positions to us. And he stood out because he'd scored so many goals. So, potentially extra kudos there. Boogers was actually believed to have a choice of clubs. Not just West Ham, but Napoli, Everton and Borussia Dortmund were all courting him, but he wanted to come to West Ham and chose West Ham because of the colours of the shirts. So, H was looking for this target man. He was looking for a guy to partner Cottee, to have this sort of 2 up top. As well as buying Boogers and everyone else, he also stumped up $250,000 for Ian Dowie as well, who was a similar height to Boogers, sort of 185, 186, something like that. Now, there were rumours that Marco Boogers hadn't been properly scouted, and they were initially denied by both Boogers and Redknapp, until a few years later in H's autobiography, he revealed he actually just watched a tape a video of Marco's highlights, and that was enough to convince him to get him in. As I said, he was short on time, short on money, so he needed a striker in there. Indeed, Boogers did actually have quite a long-standing knee condition, a knee injury, which went undetected in the medicals. So again, it would have suggested that the due diligence wasn't sufficiently carried out before his arrival, is fair to say. When Boogers arrived for pre-season, it was quite clear that Harry's idea of an imposing number 9 pretty much evaporated quite quickly. He was quite slender, not bulky as Harry had hoped. When we spoke to Martin Allen, actually, H decided to room Boogers with Martin Allen during pre-season. He even mentioned he thought Boogers was a little bit odd, which was quite a lot considering he came from the Mad Dog. And indeed, Harry spoke of Boogers in a 2019 interview, saying, right from the word go, Boogers' attitude stank. He was among the stragglers at the back. When he would go for a run, he didn't want to work. He was lazy, and all the players took an instant dislike to him. I suppose you could say he could play a bit, but he certainly was nowhere near as impressive as the video that the video made out to be. What a surprise. A highlights video which didn't talk about the players' lack of interest in training and things like that. Who would have thunk it? Anyway, so as I said, Harry clearly wasn't convinced with Boogers. He didn't start the opening game of that season against Leeds. He opted for Dowie and up top with TC. Boogers came on as a second half substitute though, with the Hammers 2-1 down. He got a warm reception by the Alton Park faithful. He was the actual cover star on the matchday programme, believe it or not. He didn't really do anything noteworthy in his debut, to be perfectly honest. He saved that greater impact for his next game, which was away to Manchester United. Again, Boogers was on the bench. Redknapp opted for just one up top with TC up front on his own. And Boogers came on once again as a second half substitute. He was unleashed. And within minutes of coming on, Marco set his sights on Gary Neville. Gary was attempting I think it was Steve Bruce passed to him, quite innocuous, like reasonably sort of high ball. And Gary was trying to control this high ball when Boogers sprinted towards him and, aided with the wet grass, apparently, of Old Trafford, slid into Neville through into his standing leg, sending Neville crashing to the ground, and a brawl erupted, including a noteworthy standoff between Julian Dixon and Roy Keane, which would have been interesting to see. Unsurprisingly, the referee, Dermot Gallagher at the time, had no choice but to issue a straight red card. And you can see here how happy Andy Cole looks at that. And you'll see a young David Beckham in the background there, Gary Pallister. I think Schmeichel was involved in there. Look at Cotty compared to Boogers. You see the height difference. You see why H needed a bigger striker. So anyway, yes, so he'd been sent off, and despite Harry stating in the post-match interview that the tackle wasn't in Marco's character, he later agreed that he got what he deserved, and all things weren't rosy when it came to Marco Boogers. H said, pretty soon after he arrived, I realised he wasn't quite right. He didn't speak a word of English, and after a month, Marco's wife was crying, she was missing her mother, and we couldn't understand any of it. So there was always even from the beginning, this sort of strange relationship between Marco and England, really, by the sounds of it, not just West Ham. So despite appealing the decision, Marco received a 4-match ban. And so rather than being dogged by the press attention that the tackle had, all the back pages of all the newspapers had the tackle and had headlines, and he was feeling homesick, so he went back to the Netherlands to be with his family. And that's where the legend began, the legend of Marco Boogers. He went back to the Netherlands with his family, and then the matchday announcer at the time, and also the club's travel arranger, 2 jobs, Bill Prosser, he received a call from a club call reporter. For those of anyone sort of, don't know, Club Call was like the biggest, it was one sort of the main football news agencies. A lot of the tabloids got their information from Club Call. and it was a lot of it's on teletext, as you can see. And basically, the Club Call reporter wanted to get an interview with Boogers, and he asked Prosser where he was. Prosser told the reporter he hadn't booked any flights for Marco. He would do all the flights. That was Bill's job, and that he had probably gone by car again. That's what his actual words. He'd probably gone by car again, assuming gone by car back to Netherlands. This was misinterpreted by the reporter, that he'd gone back to his caravan. And again, if you said it out loud, it does, there is, you could, particularly on a phone as well, phones weren't crystal clear, and they're still not crystal clear now, to be honest, if it's landlines and stuff, so you could see where the difference was. So because of the prominence of Club Call at the time, being sort of one of the main agencies, it ended up being on the back page of the date of the Sun, particularly, that Barmy Boogers has gone to live in a caravan. That was the headline. And obviously it'd come just after all the debacle with the Neville tackle, so it's sort of the narrative continued. So he was tarnished with this, gone away to the Netherlands to live in a caravan. That wasn't the case at all. Boogers was struggling to cope with life in London. He did return after his 4-match ban, with a doctor's note saying he was psychologically unfit to play football. Although publicly, the story was he had a sore stomach, and that's why he couldn't play. He did actually go on to make 2 further appearances for the club, both as a sub against Blackburn and Aston Villa. Having played just 44 minutes in 4 defeats, his reoccurring knee injury, aggravated during training in December, put him on the shelf. After emergency surgery in London, Boogers went back to the Netherlands for rehab, and during this time his son was born, and so there was nothing really keeping him in London. He didn't want to be back in London. When Boogers returned to full fitness, he was loaned to FC Groningen, but his knee problems returned even further, and his actual contract, despite the fact he'd played for Groningen, he'd scored a couple of goals, I believe. West Ham basically mutually terminated his contract in the summer of 1996. He returned to the Dutch league, but never really managed sort of his goal-scoring exploits that we had at Sparta Rotterdam. He was at RKC Warwick. Dennis will give me the pronunciations later, but never managed to reach these exploits. He scored 9 goals in the 96-97 season. Then he dropped down a division to FC Volendam. Why do I do these series? Volendam, 25 goals in 51 games. And then he moved to his hometown club of SC Dordrecht. 66 goals in 128 games. Not a bad return, to be honest, 1 in 2. And he played many games there, over 128 games there. After a brief stint as caretaker manager in 2005, he then became technical director at the club. However, he regularly fell out with the then coach, Jan Everus. Quite often they'd have a public clash in the media. After he was relieved of his duties of technical director, I believe sort of 2017, 2019, something like that, he went on to run his logistics company full-time. Nothing to do with football now at all. And he now, the company is very successful. They have a contract with DHL, and it's become a family-run business with his sons. And so, the curious tale of Marco Boogers almost comes full circle. And just to add another footnote, he's refused to do an interview with me. So I thought the next best thing is for me to just talk about his series. He might want to do an interview later on. It's fine. It's fine, Marco. I can imagine so many questions and so many times he's been asked the same questions. I can totally get it. But anyway, hope you enjoyed it. As I said, we've had Savio, we've had Marco Boogers. Comment below who you'd like us to have next in terms of the next episode of Hammers in Hot Water. We've got plenty more lined up. We've got 2 or 3 crackers in the old noggin, which I'm going to start typing up and writing scripts for in the next week or so. But we'll try and do 1 a week if we can. So anyway, I hope that was interesting. If you're new around here, comment, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And for myself, take care, everyone. Stay safe. Wash those hands. Get those jab appointments when you get your the old text through from the NHS. Come on, you irons, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.